Sam, I would like for Sam to come. I just have one question that I'd like to ask you, Sam, if you want to come up and answer a question in a minute or not, whatever.
Okay, let's bring him up.
Okay.
The floor is yours.
Yeah. So
If
so
uh, if you if you don't mind me asking a question real quick,
Sure, go ahead.
I mean I'm not going to call anyone any names or call anyone out, but I just would prefer we keep this respectful and polite. I think we'll be okay. Is that good with you guys?
Well, that's fine,
yeah.
but you started out being disrespectful by using this rhetoric like imaginary friend and stuff like that. So I just want to point out that you started the disrespect. So don't be upset if someone returns it back to you.
Well, I mean, you were attacking my arguments, correct?
I'm sorry.
That's what you're
You were
supposed to do.
attacking my arguments, right?
That's what we're supposed to
I
do.
I have no problem attacking your argument, but I'm just saying when you use like buzzwords and stupid like statements like imaginary friend, it's obvious what you're doing. You're trying to elicit a reaction and be disrespectful.
Well, I mean, bodily autonomy was earlier in the chat, but that's okay. You're right. I
Well,
won't I won't use that sort of rhetoric. All right?
Sure,
Is that
so
that's
cool?
fine. Go ahead, but you could.
yes.
All right.
So Sam, that's my question. When you as an atheist reject that we have certain inalienable rights that are bestowed on us by our Creator, one of which would be bodily autonomy that your camp likes to speak about. I want to know what makes that real if it's not God. Because if you're just confusing bodily autonomy with some sort of law, then bodily autonomy isn't real. It's just a legal obligation if it's applicable in that sense. But if we enter into another country where they don't have those laws that I believe you're conflating with bodily autonomy, then there is no bodily autonomy, and there is no law to justify these claims of bodily autonomy. So just to be clear, because you reject that God has bestowed these inalienable rights such as bodily autonomy, what makes that real, Sam?
What makes that real? Are you asking for an ontological in terms of realness?
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I my
that's
I
what I would ask for. I would ask for an
You're
ontological
asking about
basis.
objective morality, right? Like what makes it objectively real? That's what you're asking,
no,
right?
I elaborated, and I believe I articulated my question very clearly so there would be no confusion. When you're talking about bodily autonomy, I want to know if you are just conflating and confusing that with a law, or is there something
No, of
more
course
going
not.
on there?
Of course not. That
So, so
whether we
what
have bodily
makes
autonomy or not. Go
yeah,
ahead.
so
Sorry. Go on.
yeah, so the question is, what makes that real?
Well, what makes it real is what our society decides is real. That's about it. You can't.
Yeah.
I don't think the objective realness or what you're calling realness because of God is necessary. It's about how we treat one another. If you want to claim
Why
some
does
sort
that
of
matter
objective
though?
morality,
Why does that matter how we treat one another to you? That's the point.
why would that matter? Because
Yeah.
that's what provides the best societal outcomes,
But
and that's what
you're
matters to me on this earth.
Okay, when you use the word best, that has a lot of baggage to it. What's best in one person's eyes may be worse in another person, so that's subjective. By whose standard can you call something best or the best?
Well, I can only think for myself. I can't decide what is best for everybody else.
well, you just
So,
did. You just did because you are suggesting that society, which is everyone else, knows what's best for you, the individual. But the problem with the answer that you gave me, that society gets to determine these things, that's a two-way street. So when Roe versus Wade was overturned, okay, then if you are to be consistent with what you just said, then these women have no right to be indignant because
Is
it
that
was a
very
law
why?
that
Why would they
it
have
was a
no right?
law it was a law that made something real, and when that law was overturned, then they have no grounds to be indignant.
Of
Because
course
again,
they have rights because it makes them merely baby factories. Do you
so
not
hold on.
understand that?
No, no, no.
No,
So
you're
Sam,
making an argument
you're
that I never
confused.
agreed with, man. I
Okay,
never
hold on.
agreed with that argument.
Hold on. What you agree or disagree with is not relevant. We're talking about
Oh,
the
it is
core.
relevant.
Hold
You
on,
are making
Sam.
you're
Calm
not
down.
listening to what I'm
Sam,
saying. Redefine.
calm down. You're not. Ironically, you're not listening to what I'm saying. Okay, we're not talking about what you agree or disagree with. We're talking about the entailments of what you're saying. Okay, you just said on one hand you made two statements that cannot simultaneously be true. You said on one hand society gets to determine these things. I said okay, great. So society determines something, as you stated, that you don't like. Then you immediately contradict yourself and you say, well, these people have these rights to be indignant. But that's the very thing I'm asking you to
Okay, okay,
justify.
okay, okay. Redefine.
Where did
I
those
see
come
where
from, Sam?
I
Where
see
did
I
those
see
come
what you
from?
mean. And let me just say, the Supreme Court, what they did, the changing of the law, that was a minority opinion that does not speak for a majority of Americans. So it's a moot point.
No, no. So,
It's a
so
moot
here
point. Your
again,
views
again.
are not the majority.
Okay,
So
Sam.
yeah, it
Let's
doesn't matter.
now let's examine your statement and the entailments of it, okay? So when we go over to another country that's not a first world American country, okay, even if we grant what you just said about the Supreme Court, even if we grant that, which that decision was based on science, right? But even if we grant that,
No, no, I'm
when
not
we
letting you
go
get
over
away with
to
that.
hold
Sorry,
on,
it's not based on
I'll
science.
finish in one
No,
I'll
no.
finish in 20 seconds. 20 seconds and I'll be charitable. I'll let you go on. When we go over into a country that's not a first world country, when the opposite scenario plays out, where then do these rights come from, Sam?
Are you talking about like in a country where they outlawed abortion? Is that what you mean?
Anywhere. Any
Okay,
country that
okay.
takes a different position. You're saying that these things are a societal construct. And I'm saying that's a two-way street. I'm saying that this bodily autonomy that you guys are talking about doesn't actually exist. Okay? It's an
I
illusion that
agree.
is
I
instantiated
agree
by
with
a
you.
law and nothing more.
I agree with you.
Yeah, if I could pick it back off what he's
I
saying,
agree
like
with you. It is
a basic
illusions.
example
Khan,
is
I'm talking, please,
hold
sir.
on, no, no, so sir, you're in my room, okay? You understand that? All right, I was just going to make a quick statement, and then you can have the floor. In the Dominican Republic, abortion is entirely illegal, and since you seem to agree that's it's an illusion, then why do you stipulate rights at all? Then the only thing you're really giving us is something that you desire as a wish. It's just a fantasy of yours. It's not any kind of meaningful sort of philosophical grounds for it. It's just your fantasy that you want to be true.
Well, I mean, when you instantiate your religion as law, the same thing can be said. I
That's
mean,
not
that's
what
just
we're
the
Are
way
talking
we
it
about.
gonna
is.
do the two quote
No,
quay
but that
Not
is
what
thing?
we're
what we're
talking
talking
about.
about.
They always do the two quote quay
About
move.
making no, you're making the statement about the law being instantiated about what you prefer, correct?
No, Sam, you're dodging.
And it's
I'm
a,
not dodging. I'm
and
responding to
trying
what you're
and
saying.
trying to implement a two quote quay fallacy because if I were to concede for the sake of argument that that was the case, then all you really are doing is admitting that you have a problem, and you say, well, you have the same problem.
Yeah, but
Well,
yeah, would actually
that's not
be
going to do anything to help you, sir.
the reason why your statement is also a straw man, okay, because on our position society would be wrong to infringe on this autonomy that is made real by God, okay? That's our position. So our position, the government would be wrong, society would be wrong if they come out and they say something that is antithetical to what God has said. That's the difference in our positions. Now let's see if you immediately contradict yourself again, Sam. When Americans pulled out of the Middle East, those people that we called terrorists, they became freedom fighters. And they were demanding that these young virgins be turned over so they could reproduce and rebuild up their armies. Now, if society justifies that thing that we call kidnap and rape, if society justifies it, then these women, they have no rights to object. So you support that, right, Sam?
Of
Right?
course not. And I never
Whoa,
said that
whoa,
I
whoa.
did. No,
Contradiction.
no, you are going to listen for a minute,
Contradiction.
okay?
Right there. You contradict yourself.
No, you
Now
cannot. You can't
backpedal on
don't put
Wait,
words
everything
in
you
my
said,
mouth.
Sam.
to
Clean up
be
your
Don't
mess.
fair,
put words in my mouth.
to be
Go
fair,
ahead.
Sam, let him go ahead and respond. Go ahead.
All right, yes, there's a difference between rape, murder, and like that, and an abortion. For one thing, abortion isn't murder. Doesn't matter how many times you can say it. It's not a child. That's the big thing. Secondly, I don't believe in your imaginary. Okay, I'm not gonna go there. I'm
Yeah,
not
so
gonna go
Sam,
there. I'm
let
sorry.
me point
You
out
know,
the
I'll stop there.
error. Let me
you know
point out the
what?
error in your response, okay? What you've done is you've shifted from what it is that makes autonomy real to some other subcategory of what can happen if it's real or not, okay? So I'm not asking you your opinion on rape and murder. I'm pointing out the entailment of your position. If you're not going to
You
contradict
keep
yourself,
talking about my
then you would
position and
say,
you don't get my
if
position.
if
That's the
no,
point.
let me
You don't
explain.
understand.
Hold on,
You need
hold
to
on.
learn to. You need to learn to understand what people's actual positions are.
Okay, that's what you're
To a
doing.
Actually,
certain.
I think, well, I would push back on that, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, he doesn't. I'm pretty sure I understand your position. Your position is that there are no objective intrinsic rights on this level, but that doesn't matter because on a practical level, if we all come to certain agreements on how we treat each other, then who cares if there's some objective sort of grounding to that or not? That's basically your position, correct?
I would say that there's more to it, but for the most part, I agree with what you just said.
Okay. And I think Redefine was not really arguing against that very thing you laid out. I didn't see anything to where he strawmanned you. Can you give an example of how he misrepresented you?
There seems to be this idea that there are entailments to my beliefs on bodily autonomy that I just don't agree with. But
No, Sam,
I have to actually have to get back to work. So I apologize, gentlemen. I hope you have
hold
a
on.
great rest of your day.
Give me 2 more minutes. Okay.
I do have to go back to work though,
Oh,
for
if you
real.
gotta go back right now, then that's fine. Look,
My lunch break is over, but I don't want
thanks
to
for
cause
coming
any problems for
by.
y'all. No, I
Thanks for
appreciate it
coming
though.
out, man.
I do, and I appreciate you guys having me up. And I
All
know we
right.
disagree,
Sure.
but I hope you have a great rest of your day. Okay.
All right.
You
Thank you.
too.
You too, man.
All right.
Repent. Repent. So just really quick, because, and I hope maybe he'll catch the replay. I want to unpack that I wasn't disagreeing with him. If I say that, if I affirm that my favorite color is red, then I've implied the entailment is that it's not blue or green or any other color. If he wants to
Correct.
say that morality is not objective and this bodily autonomy is only made real by a law, then when we go over into the Middle East, where morality is not objective and the bodily autonomy is not made real by a law, then it's not actually rape. It's just, you know, uh, it's just reproducing without the female's permission. And if
Right.
he's to be consistent, he should support that because, again, morality isn't objective and they don't have any laws making that autonomy real, meaning they don't have any bodily autonomy over there. It doesn't exist. There's nothing making it real. And that's the entailment of what he said. And he immediately contradicted himself. That's all.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the bottom line is this: given the fact that there is no objective grounding for anything he's stipulating, and that he doesn't really care about the objective sort of a rubric, since he doesn't care about that at all, then great. Then live in your fantasy. You want to talk about that we believe in an imaginary sky daddy or whatever, or an imaginary friend, and whatever stupid rhetoric you want to use, and whatever jargon you want to throw to try to attain our position. But ironically, while you're talking about us believing in imaginary things, fictional things from your perspective, your whole moral ethical framework is fictional. It's
Right.
imaginary.
That's
Because
right.
there's no reality to it. It's no different than a 5-year-old thinking that they're Superman. There's no real context to them actually being Superman. So they, in a sense, think of moral norms and notions this exact same way. There's no realness to it. It's just they have these fuzzy feelings in their souls, and then they run on those fuzzy feelings as realities, or these things that they want to be reality where there just simply is not one. How is that functionally different than a kid believing they're Superman when they're not? It isn't.
Yeah, that's the ultimate irony is they haven't been able to show that we do believe in an imaginary friend. They're going to have to unpack that. How is it that trust is
Exactly.
false? But ironically, they believe in these all kinds of imaginary things, like morality, for example.
Exactly. They want to call it morality, but it's really nothing. I mean, you know about the is ought fallacy. You don't look at what is the case to make a bridge to what ought to be the case. Because here's the thing, their worldview reduces down to we're nothing more than a compilation of chemical reactions. We come from pond scum. We're just chemical stuff. And on its fundamental level, we're just chemical material stuff. That's it. Okay? And somehow from that material chemical stuff, these abstractions emerge and ethics emerge and what have you. These things somehow magically emerge from the mere physicality. It's like Matt Yester always talks about, how do you get to something that's 180 degrees its opposite? Okay. How in the world did they get from the material to the immaterial, from the physical to the metaphysical? How the heck does that happen on their basis? It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's just stuff occurring and fizzing and buzzing around in the universe. There's no real morals at all. There's just nothing there but physical activity happening. On their materialistic framework, it's just totally arbitrary and baseless.